Armchair commanders, we call the shots. From our living room thrones where the action's hot. We're the generals of fiction, the masters of war. In silver screen battles with buttered popcorn. Armchair commanders, armchair commanders.
All right, welcome to the Armchair Commanders podcast. My name is John, and this week my partner in crime, Jack, is out and about in the wilderness seeking some fortune. But I am lucky enough to be joined by a return guest of ours, Veronica, who did Braveheart with us several months ago, has graciously agreed to join us to do the quote-unquote sequel to it, Robert the Bruce. Veronica, if you'd like to say hi and tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much for having me back. I'm really excited. So a couple months ago we did Robert the Bruce, or we did Braveheart. Sorry, jumping ahead of myself. We did Braveheart and getting to do a deep dive into Scottish, or a moderately deep dive into Scottish history, which is my favorite thing to study. So I'm excited to be back and moving on to my personal favorite historic character and person in history. So, yeah.
Are you still working for the ships?
Uh, for a couple weeks longer.
Okay,
So that's I have a new exciting project on the horizon. Um, that I'm just waiting to sort of finalize, and then I get to go from there. But I am
nice.
still landside on with some ships,
Okay,
which is pretty fun.
we take our history jobs where we can take them, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the foray into historic ships has brought me a lot of really wonderful fortune. But I do miss my time in historic homes. So, and not smelling like boat is a good thing too. If you've ever been on a World War II vessel,
I
you know the smell.
I've been on a couple, but I don't think I've ever been on them long enough to really notice or admire its particular smells. So
It's
I'll have to try and focus on that the next time I go to a museum ship.
Yeah, it's something about the diesel and the steel. It lingers. So, looking
But
forward to not having that on my clothes as much, but
right.
other than that.
So going back several hundred years instead of warships of the 20th century,
Yes.
going to your favorite topic of Scottish history, I
Mhm.
think it's kind of self-explanatory why you would choose this as your next review with us after
Yeah.
doing Braveheart. But I guess my first question for you would be, do you think this or Braveheart is the better film?
Hmm. Okay. I think I okay, yeah. I thought I had an answer. Um I still think Braveheart's the better film. Um I think it was just made at the right moment in time with the right people. And so it has that art quality about it, and um it fills a niche better than I think Robert the Bruce the film does, which is a beautiful passion project, and I'm very appreciative of it. Um, but I don't think it had the right I don't think it had the right time, and I don't think it had the right direction. So I actually find the film of Robert the Bruce to be kind of cliche and a little tacky. Um, but I love Angus McFadden, and so I will die on that hill for him. And he fell in love with the character of Robert the Bruce because of Braveheart, and then spent 19 years writing a script to continue to play that character. Um, so I mean, he tried, but I still think I like Braveheart better.
See, I didn't really feel one way or another about
Mm-hmm.
Angus McFadden until he was in the series Turn, the AMC series Turn,
So good in Turn. So good in Turn.
like being the leader
Um,
of the Queen's Rangers for I
yeah.
think it was like 1 or 2 seasons. I was
Yeah.
like, this is a really solid character, and like you can
Yeah.
really see like his acting abilities in that series. I
Yeah.
don't think we really see his acting abilities in like Braveheart. There's definitely more on display in this film, but I guess it kind of goes into the next point, which is the difference in storytelling.
Very,
Because
yeah.
you know this movie very much takes I appreciated it because it kind of takes the like 300 route of like the
Mhm.
story is being told third person,
Mhm.
where God, what was her name? Morag.
Morag. Morag.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is super clever. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't think I'd be joining, but here I am.
Woohoo!
well,
We
we're all the
made
better
it.
for it. How was your hunting
Yay.
adventure?
It was good. It was good. I got two of them, but I I gave the other one to the guy whose land I was hunting on because that just felt like the neighborly thing to do.
I think that's a fair trade off.
I think so.
Yeah, Pa didn't agree with me. He told me, I said, "Oh, I told you to get two," but in the end, I think he agreed that it was a nice thing to do. Also, it gives my cousin an excuse to come out here and kill something on Wednesday.
You know, Jack, when I was watching this film, I was thinking about you the entire time because I think this film had like hunting plays a bigger part in this
Yeah.
film than any other film than that we reviewed.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah.
Also, I don't know about you guys, but what with it being set during the wintertime, I was like,
Mhm.
this is unintentionally like a Christmas war movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're a month too soon reviewing this.
Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be December.
Yeah. It's
Oh, okay
it's
then.
very appropriate, I think, but yeah, the aspect of the hunt is very very important in this one. Not only is it just about hunting for survival, but avoiding being hunted for your survival. Um, it's so metaphoric. It's so poetic.
I One of my favorite lines in this that Angus McFadden does is he's talking to Scott, which great
So,
name design. Scott the Scotsman.
it's that's what I mean. Like that's what I meant when I said like this feels kind of tacky and cliche.
I didn't want to say it.
It's like Angus McFadden like only speaks in like rippers. Like he only speaks in like he even just like keeps repeating this poem of it's just like the song of justice must be sung and you're just like whoa bud what um so yeah
Can you please explain? Do you know anything about this poem? Because I had never heard it before, and I was really waiting for it to mean something, and it didn't click for me. So if you could shine a light on that, that would be super helpful.
so the first time he starts sort of reciting this poem it's when he's in this cave and it also keeps focusing on a spider. And this is important because so this is also just one of my favorite folk tales. um this is after like the Battle of Methven, which technically happens in like 1306. Um, and this is after he's been coronated and is after he becomes King of Scotland. He keeps trying to fight and like press forward with the wars of independence, and he keeps failing. He keeps getting beat. Um, and so the story is that after this battle, sometimes it's a cave, sometimes it's just like a cottage. He's just like lying there and he's watching the spider like try to swing between like rafters or between rocks. And he's like, okay. He keeps seeing the spider miss. And then he goes, if it makes it this time, I can't give up the fight for a free Scotland. And then it makes it the last time. And like, that's the whole like inspiration behind him like pressing forward. This poem is just words they put together as far as I could tell. I was like,
I was going to say,
no.
like,
Yeah, like it must have come from somewhere, but it's just like
this
I
sounds
couldn't find
like a
anything.
freshman, like some college freshman who's like in English 101 was assigned to write a poem.
Yeah, yeah. It and it's just like
And
the bounties of the king must be
yeah,
undone. Then you're like, what does that mean?
I was like, this better have like an actual origin for me to give it any kind of credit, because I'm like, oh, if it's actually a poem from the 1300s, I'm not
Mhm.
going to rip on it that much. But if this is just some random bullshit they threw in the script, then like that's some serious points being talked from this film.
That was really all I could come up with, because it's just like there is an epic poem that I highly recommend. It's one of the main resources we have about Robert the Bruce, and it's just called The Bruce by John Barber, and it's like 14,000 lines, and it just is the history of Robert the Bruce. But like those lines don't show up in it anywhere. Um, so I don't know where it came from, other than it feels uh some of it sort of almost is reminiscent of like Macbeth, and then some of it is reminiscent. It reminds me of like Lord of the Rings when they're speaking about like the blade that was broken shall be remade, the crownless again shall be king. Like it's the same thing. And I don't have an answer for you,
Okay,
unfortunately.
well, maybe that was just like Angus McFadden, like he's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be artsy, you know.
Yeah. And I think that pops up frequently. It's like we're gonna do the cool thing in this and not the correct thing.
So,
Um, yeah.
Professor Veronica.
Oh, geez, not quite,
Um,
but I'll take it.
well, you are a professor, right?
No,
I feel like you're qualified to be one, aren't you?
I do
I
not
thought
have a
you were really.
doctorate. Yeah,
I was gonna say I thought you were either a doctor or professor or something, but
no, just
right.
I have. So my master's is from the University of Glasgow in Scottish history,
Ooh,
specifically. Yeah, so I don't know if I gave my like bona fides last time. Um, and my sort of capstone paper was on the cultural memory of the Battle of Bannockburn of 1314, as it was remembered at several of its centennials, including 1714, 1814, 1914, and 2014. Um, which is relevant to this film because it technically ends uh spoilers, I guess. But one of the main characters dies at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314. Um,
yeah, that was gonna be my next.
which is a real thing. But what's interesting, so this is the thing that I found interesting, is I could not also figure out the timeline for this movie, which
It
I didn't notice before.
uh, according. Okay, so I was gonna bring this up later, but
Hmm.
so according to Wikipedia, this movie takes place throughout the winter of 1313 or somewhere abouts there. And the Battle of Bannockburn was
Hmm.
in 1314.
Yes.
But Scott, who turned 11 during this movie, dies in that battle.
Yes.
So they really were just taking anyone that could walk on 2 feet and hold a bow, weren't they?
I mean, there's also just an so at this point, and what really sort of solidifies Robert the Bruce as a good king and as someone who can make these moves is he resorts to guerrilla warfare, and this is 1307 on. So he's hitting like hard and fast in the night. He's focusing more on like demoralizing, especially demoralizing troops that are under um, Edward the First or Longshanks. Um, because like they're very well organized and they come to fight, and so it's like, well, we can't necessarily beat them in numbers, but we can lay traps and we can get in, steal supplies, get out. It's these sort of face-to-face, head-to-head battles where he's not doing as well. Now Bannockburn is an exception in that it still has these guerrilla warfare tactics, but it does turn into a head-to-head battle, but it is all about using the terrain to advantage, which is guerrilla warfare 101. The English troops are marching in to Bannockburn, means like little creek, little river, so it's the Bannockburn. And they are not expecting an attack at the point where they are, so they keep marching, and this is when a sort of Scots militia comes in and attacks them, and their archers are the English archers, which sort of world-renowned English archers even at this point, are not at the front line where they should be because they're still moving everything. So the cavalry actually get taken out by spears and pikes and hidden traps in Bannockburn, which again lays this track to a successful route for the Scots. And so this is the major battle that really solidifies Robert the Bruce as the rightful king, as an efficient warlord, and really pushes the English out of Scotland. Like from here, all of the sort of border watches and watchtowers and waypoints fall to the Scots. So like Bannockburn is really where this kicks off, and really starts to solidify Scotland as a free nation again after 30 years of war at this point.
Well, what would you do without your freedom?
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, absolutely, totally fair. And that's like an interesting point in this film too, I think, is like in Braveheart, it's very much about like the freedom of the people. Whereas this one, he goes on this kind of long, like gung-ho hoorah speech about like the freedom of the land. Which I thought was interesting. And then it goes to like justice for the people. And I'm like, we're getting cross metaphors here. Like the whole big thing about Braveheart was freedom.
We just need him to look like a heroistic person, okay?
Right. Truly.
But I did love that. I was like, this is an awesome speech. However, you're not giving this to an army before a battle. You're giving it to a family that's hiding you because you have a reward on your head. Like,
right.
Let's not pretend you're fighting for the freedom of Scotland here. You're fighting for the freedom of not being taken prisoner.
Not spending the rest of your life in the dungeons.
Right. It's like, yeah, you can pump your brakes a little bit, where it's just like, all right, so all we have to worry about is the sheriff who is your brother-in-law and like some of his guys. And that's all we're worried about.
And apparently they just spend the whole winter not looking for him, just getting shit-faced in a bar.
Okay, but like Scotland in the winter, that's just what you do.
I thought that was just Scotland on the daily, but
you get like in the winter, you get like a solid like 4 hours of sunlight. And like if you're in the Highlands, which is kind of implied in this one, in the Highlands you might get like 2. And it's like always like cold and damp, so you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna sit and drink. This is fine. Yeah.
I
mean, I can't argue with that.
Right.
I guess I didn't know that there were gorillas in Scotland. I'm sorry. I've been waiting so long to make that joke.
I appreciate it. I was like, I could just say guerrilla warfare here. People are gonna know what I'm talking about.
There would probably there'd probably be a lot less just random murders occurring
Mhm.
in Scotland if they got a little more vitamin D in their life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly.
But that's what you have like Marmite for. You just put that on. You just put that on your toast, and you're fine. Um,
Fun little like side tangent. So like a good noodle, I see a therapist. I'm a strong believer in mental health and
love
all
that.
those things. Um,
He talks about his feelings.
I know how
I
how
just go
lame
out
is.
and sit in a cold field and kill things.
I'm not a
Everyone
true
has their
Scotsman. I don't
ways.
drown my emotions in alcohol. Um, try as I might. Anyways, so I have this therapist, and this was last winter that this occurred.
Mm.
But he like at one of our sessions, he's like, "So yeah, I have something I need to talk to you about," and I'm like, "Are you firing me as a patient?" Like,
Yeah,
because it happens.
yeah.
Like client patient relationships do end. Like, um, he's like, so I was thinking that. So I made this smart ass joke. I was like, "Oh, you hate me and you're moving to Antarctica," and he's like, "Well, you're half right about that."
Oh my god.
So yeah, my therapist left me uh, to do. He got contract. It was only for like the the winter season,
hmm
so like 4 or 5 months, and then he came back and was my therapist again. But
Just
he's
like
like,
the really bad Antarctica times, like peak thing
yeah, but
Antarctica
it
times.
makes sense that people are so homicidal because like
Yeah.
think about it, like I didn't think about that until
Mm.
my therapist was like, yeah, I got contracted by the DoD to go to Antarctica for a couple of months because mental health isn't really super great down there.
I mean, yeah. Those
Yeah.
penguins are deeply disturbed.
I think I saw one of them carrying a knife.
Yeah.
I blame the schools.
I'm just trying to think of like a 1300s therapist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 1300s therapy was, are you a witch? Like,
Oh, my
um,
brother is dead. Let me try and steal his wife.
okay, like that was the thing. Like that there's a precedent for that of just being like, well, keep it in the family. Um, like, uh,
As creepy
and
as it was, I was
yeah,
like, yeah, this seems kind of track for the time period.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. It there's no way to like not talk about it, because I was also, like I said, like figuring out this timeline was really difficult because like we have, because like was mentioned, it's being told in the third person, and we have it being told in the third person at two different times. Because there's at one point where she's actually telling the story of like how Robert the Bruce becomes king, which takes place in 1306, and then
Yeah, she
we
tells it
have,
like a bedtime story, but then
yeah,
like it transitions to like a different telling of the story. Like she's telling the story to her kid who experienced the story like after the fact.
right, and then and so yeah, and the implication is that like, at least this is how I read it or took it, is like this is taking place in the winter of 1306, 1307, at least to me, because this is after, like, it makes the implication that Robert the Bruce kills Common in Greyfriars Chapel and runs away. And this is when they're starting to look for him. But that's not, but then that
Right.
doesn't line up with the fact that the 11-year-old dies in 1314.
So that, like, I was
Right.
thinking about, like, maybe I missed something,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe I'm just don't know much about Scottish culture, which that
Mm-hmm.
I don't. But
Yeah, I was going to say
I'm
neither me or Jack know shit about Scottish history,
It's
so like
fine.
we're completely reliant on you to tell us whether this
but
film is right or not.
It's not.
what was like, and don't get me wrong, I'm
No,
one of
you're
the
fine.
least spiritual people you'll ever meet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not religious in almost any sense of the word, but I have to imagine killing a man in a
Mm-hmm.
church while you're parlaying. That's
Mm-hmm.
bad juju, right?
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah,
I'm
he got
pretty sure that's the
excommunicated.
Scottish equivalent of what they call a dick move.
Yeah. So he was excommunicated by the Pope for doing that.
I mean, yeah.
Just like for starters.
So here's my thing with that is they mention it in the movie, like
Uh-huh.
it's part of her bedtime story,
Uh-huh.
but like it's just a single throwaway line. And it doesn't do justice. Like, if we think about it today, if you're like, oh, the Pope excommunicated this person, you're like, whoop-de fucking do, they can find
Yeah.
another church. Like, like excommunication today basically means nothing.
Yeah.
But like in 1300s, in
It's a
1300
huge deal.
Scotland, that yeah, because in 1300s we're talking about we haven't had the Protestant Reformation yet,
Mm-hmm.
so the Catholic Church is the church.
Mm-hmm.
You know, England hasn't done their split yet
Mm-hmm.
from the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
We
you were
don't even have the Bible translated out of Latin at this point.
right.
Like the Bible is only in Greek and Latin at the time that this film is taking place. So literally, the only way you actually know Bible anything is either priest told you
Mm-hmm.
or you know Latin and somehow found one of the 4 fucking Bibles on the island. Like, so if you were to tell a commoner, yeah, Robert the Bruce got excommunicated, like that's a major deal because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, the only church and pathway to heaven is like you're out. But 2, like the whole idea of kings, especially in this time frame, is you know it's kingships are divinely handed down by God. So if you're trying to say I'm the king of Scotland, but the church is like fuck you, you're not a part of the church, that really hurts your claim to that title.
Yeah.
Like,
And
and the
there's
fact that it's just a throwaway line in this kind of bugged me.
yeah. And he also has a line where he says God chooses kings, not men. And he says this after killing a man with a cross. So that's interesting.
That was pretty fucking bad.
That's a choice.
So, like it's like a little on the nose. Like we get it. But so yeah, he is excommunicated by the Pope at this point, but there are like bishops and clergymen in Scotland who are like, no, it's okay. Like, you're fine. God forgives you. Let's coronate you and you're King of Scotland. So like it ends up like it's fine. And like
You're
he eventually sort of
unexcommunicated.
yeah, they're like that might apply everywhere else, but like in Scotland you're fine. And like it
So
eventually sort of gets reversed, or like he
he's
gets
only eligible for Scottish heaven.
yeah.
All the iron brew you could drink.
Sounds fine to me. Yeah, only Scottish heaven, which is probably just the Highlands. But and just lots of whiskey and iron brew. It'd be great. There was a rugby match today and Scotland did very well, so go Scotland.
Yeah.
That's other part of Scottish heaven.
I feel like I should get into rugby.
It's very good. If it's I mean, if you long for the gladiator days, if hockey isn't violent enough for you,
I'm not much of a hockey person. I am an American football
then
follower.
yeah, rugby's just better.
Well, I should like. I started off not the biggest football fan, but my wife is a big fan, so that means by proxy I am a big fan.
It's fair. That's fair. I mean,
baseball's my sport.
I am a baseball girl.
What team?
I'm a Philly girl.
Okay. See,
I'm really upset about what happened.
That's the only Philly team you can actually support with a clean conscience.
The Flyers are doing fine.
I said with a clean conscience, not a...
See, there's 3 teams in baseball that I like in this order. 1, the Twins.
Okay.
2, the Cubs. 3, literally anybody playing the Yankees.
Yeah. Pretty much.
If North Korea had a team playing the Yankees, I wouldn't support the Yankees.
No, absolutely.
I'm just in a
Absolutely.
perpetual state of sadness because of my baseball team.
Oh, really? What's your baseball? Wait, let me guess. The Rockies?
Yeah, it's the second worst team in the league.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I'm a Phillies girl first. And then the Tigers, who had a surprisingly good season this past year. And then just very recently the Mets, because my boyfriend is a Mets fan, and I got wrapped up. And when the Phillies let me down horribly in the World Series, I had to root for someone, and I wasn't going to root for the Yankees.
There we go. There we go. I was just happy that the Yankees didn't win this time.
Yeah.
Anytime they lose, I'm a happy guy.
Yeah. No, that's yeah.
Who do you think Robert the Bruce would have rooted for?
Oh.
Diamondbacks. I base this on absolutely nothing.
If we're talking about like a baseball team, I'm gonna say probably the. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I forgot literally every baseball team.
When it comes to football, he strikes me as a Lions fan.
Okay.
You don't got to do that to him, but okay.
No, but
Motor
okay.
City Kitties.
Listen, I don't have the flag of it. I used to. So like the sort of mark of the King of Scotland is a lion. And when you look
Also, I wasn't just pulling that out of my ass.
You
cool.
weren't. So he would typically be shown, especially after his coronation, in something that has a rampant lion on it. Even when you look at like the crest of Scotland, and you'll see it on like Balmoral and things like that, it has a lion on one side and a unicorn on the other side. Unicorn, of course, being the national animal of Scotland.
I think we need to really we really need to push for like every nation to come up with their like national cryptologic like choice.
Everyone needs, yeah.
But yeah, so like America has the bald eagle as like the national bird / animal.
But
like,
what's our cryptid?
Yeah, I think our national cryptid should be like Bigfoot or like the Jersey City Monster or something. Or
the Jersey Devil.
Sorry.
What's really fantastic is I did a podcast earlier this month all about the Jersey Devil. So I can point you to that one if you need it.
We did a discussion about cryptids. We did this was a while ago, but we did a review of a Sam Elliott film called The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot.
Yes.
It is fucking peak cinema.
Love that.
That was part of our discussion. We were like, for as stupid of a fucking title and premise that this film is, it is a beautifully shot film.
Yeah.
Like, the cinematography is like, it is astounding.
The casting of Sam Elliott was perfect, and he went into this knowing that it was a stupid movie, but goddamn if he wasn't firing on all cylinders.
And that's what makes it good. That's what takes it from a movie to a film.
It really does.
I would classify this as still just a movie.
Just a movie. That's fair.
Because we were talking about it a little bit earlier about whether you preferred Braveheart or this film.
Mm-hmm.
Braveheart, if it is on TV, I will watch it because it's a good film. It very much has the aesthetic of a 90s film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, when I think about Braveheart, I think about Saving Private Ryan. I think about Titanic. Like, all the films from that decade had like the major
those
big
epics.
budget one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you don't see those anymore.
Like the 3-hour epic from the 90s has a very specific look to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's just nostalgia, but I really appreciate that look.
Mm-hmm.
This film, very much the same way, fits the mold for your... It fits the mold. I know it came out in 2019, but essentially a 2020 straight to DVD film,
Yeah.
this film aesthetically fits that to a T.
Yeah, where it's almost like it's like one step above a made for TV movie.
I th- I think the issue is that technology has gone to such a point that the person with $1,000 budget
Mhm.
essentially has the same capabilities as a person with $100,000 budget.
Mhm.
The problem is that I think we haven't really developed or learned. I think we're in a phase of cinema where movie producers are still trying to figure out what the best cinematography techniques and
Mhm.
skills for the technology we have is.
Mhm.
And I think we haven't really. I think there's a couple of films that have done some great work, kind of like Dunkirk in
Mhm.
1917, that have really pushed us in the right direction of what to do with the technology we have right
Yeah.
now. But I don't think everybody's caught on to that page yet.
Yeah, and I think part of that also just hinges on the eye and the writing of a director. Because like even like 1917, I agree, is absolutely fantastic. I could watch that again and again, just from like an artistic point of view, and an artistic standpoint. But like when you watch Dunkirk, it feels very Saving Private Ryan. It still feels, it has this Spielberg-esque quality to it still. Whereas like I would say 1917 has taken it one step further, and it's somebody new. And I think that that's um yeah, I think that's where this movie it was a little weaker. Like it was still quite beautiful, and it was, I would say, it was still doing similar things that are being done with gritty historic films now. But it was still trying too hard to be a 90s blockbuster. And I think that really comes across in like we were mentioning in the dialogue. It's very, very kitschy, which doesn't match up with the look of the film. Um, and some of the choices that are made. Um, so yeah, like there was it leaves me wanting more from it. Um, and it yeah, it just I would watch Angus McFadden play Robert the Bruce until I died. But like I need more. I need more from it
I
than
was I was waiting for the disembodied ghost of Mel Gibson to appear at some point.
I was just being like, get your shit together. Um
I
yeah.
thought there was a one thing I would give this film credit for is the
Mhm.
fact that, you know, we mentioned this is the unofficial sequel to
Yeah.
Braveheart. Um, and generally speaking, sequels aren't that good because
Right.
they rely too heavily on the previous movie
Mhm.
to propel their story or the nostalgia factor and
Mhm.
whatnot. Even though I think Braveheart is infinitely better than this film, that that's hard because it's like, oh well, I think that I don't even know what a good comparison of this would be, but saying Braveheart is better than this film is saying that Saving Private Ryan is better than some shitty straight to TV,
Right.
movie that's made this year. Like no shit, it's an
Mhm.
award-winning film.
Yeah.
But where I give this film credit is the fact that let's say you're in a reality where you have never seen the movie Braveheart and
Mhm.
know nothing about it. You still would need to know a little bit about the story of William Wallace, but this
Mhm.
film can operate
Yeah.
as its own independent film with if you've watched Braveheart, this story makes more sense to you.
Mhm.
But if you've never seen Braveheart, this film still works on its own.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
give it credit for that.
yeah, it doesn't rely on like Easter eggs or like, you see what we did there, which, yeah, I agree, is absolutely beneficial to it. Um, it's Yeah, but it really is just that scope is missing, I think. The broadness of Braveheart, which is what people love about it, um, as opposed to this, it almost feels claustrophobic, which might be on purpose. It might be an artsier film than I give it credit for. Um, of just it focuses in on just one small aspect, and just one family, which I think what people like about Braveheart is it's big. um like, you get those big battle scenes, you do get hundreds of people running at each other, um
You get
and
you get Scotsmen mooning people.
yeah, you get I want to say camp, like it's campy because it's the 90s, whereas this is taking itself more seriously, um and that
Oh, I
being,
that was
yeah,
something else I wanted to bring up. I know we had talked about the kilts thing on our last episode, and I was
yes,
so excited. I was like,
no
man,
kilts,
they discovered pants in the 20 years that William Wallace died. It's such a momentous occasion.
yeah, yeah, so they got that right, at least, is that they're wearing pants. um so there is more correct history here, but not, this is definitely taking a gray spot or an unknown spot in this timeline, and embellishing it a little bit, because there are times where it's like, yeah, we don't 100% know where he was hiding at this point, just that he was trying not to get captured by the English, and so let's make up the story about what's happening in this winter time. um and they found pants, and I'm very proud of them, I guess.
So
Proud.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the trying not to get captured thing. So that was
Yeah.
something that was brought up a lot in this film was,
Mhm.
he has a 50 gold piece reward on his head.
Which is absolutely not how they were counting it. Um
But okay. So
they
something that we kind of do a lot around here is whenever we get kind of like money differentials, what I
uh-huh.
try to do is find an equivalent
Yeah.
to modern money
Mhm.
or what that amount would be. Um I was not able to do this. Can
Yeah.
Do you have an idea of what 50 gold pieces in 1307 Scotland would be?
It would be pretty substantial, so if that's how they measured that. So I mean, that's really where you get like the concept of the pound from as well. So it's, you could even equate it to like 50 pounds. Um and like at one point in time in like the 1300s, like Robert the Bruce's family owed, or this might have been the late 1290s, Robert the Bruce's family owed money to someone in excess of 60 pounds, and like, so it's a decent amount of money. It's several $1,000s if not more, in today's American money. Like, it
Would,
wouldn't be bad.
would you say below or above six figures?
Um Oh, I'm really bad at money. This is now just showing. Um probably above.
Man, inflation's a bitch.
It's really rough. I'm going to see if I can find something. Let's see. 1300 Scottish. That's not how that works. Um it would likely be a substantial sum representing several hundred cows or sheep.
Okay, if it's several hundred cows, I'd imagine that's probably in the.
It's a decent amount.
I don't know, Jack. What's 600 cows cost you?
600 cows?
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
You're the cattle rancher, you tell me.
Quite a fucking bit. So let me tell you a story. Couple of years ago, on one of our trail drives that we do in early January of every year, where we march cows from the res all the way to our ranch. And this particular day, I had only gotten 2 hours of sleep. And, there I was. And me and my dad were next to each other in the trail drive. And he gets my attention and says, "Now, Jack, in front of us are X number of cows. I don't remember what, but it was several hundred. Maybe not 1,100, because that's our usual operating number, but goddamn near close to that." And he said, "Well, pound per pound, each cow goes for this amount of money." And I was half listening to him at the time because, 2 hours of sleep.
Typical
And then
teenager move.
he did the math for me and said, "Jack, you are looking at $1 million
Wow.
on 4 legs in front of us."
So you would say like 1,000 cows would be about $1 million.
Ballpark.
Yeah.
So 600 would be like 5.
A little less than $1 million, but still up there. Probably more than a fucking Scottish peasant would make in his life.
So let's just say that 50 gold pieces is the equivalent of $500,000.
I might have drastically overestimated. The converter I found from the National Archives.gov.uk says that in the year 1300, 50 pounds was approximately 35,000 pounds in 2017 purchasing power.
Okay, still decent money.
Around 100K, maybe a little less in American dollars. You could pay the wages of the wages of a skilled tradesman for 5,000 days for that amount of money. So you would never have to work again if you got 50 pounds in 1300.
Okay.
Which sounds fantastic because I have a coat.
It reminds me of that scene from A Million Ways to Die in the West where it's like, "You take your hat off, boy, that's a real dollar."
Yes, it's exactly that. And it's like they're not they really weren't measuring in like gold pieces. Like it was still, that's fine.
I mean, they were more of a barter economy back then still, though, right? At least on a low level, like, average peasant to peasant.
Yeah. I mean, you're still I mean, this is, prime Middle Ages, so like you have guilds and craftsmen, but like you can, like, especially in smaller villages, it's like you're trading your trade and your work that way. But I mean, yeah, even to have a sum of money like that is still going to like make a huge difference. But
which could buy you a Scottish castle, which apparently in this film is just a stick fort, but
yeah, you get those. You do get those.
What my point is, like, with that juicy carrot dangling in front of you, you think you'd be a bit more proactive in finding the target rather than just sitting on your ass. Like, the fucking guy is at your sister-in-law's house. Like, just, stop by one day. Don't even give her a heads up. Just drop by and you'll just see him chilling. Like, oh, hey.
Yeah, I think that's the point that they try to drive home, is like she lives away from the town, and if the weather is too bad, like, people aren't gonna make it. And then it's also a whole point that, like, because they went after the Bruce in the first place, they lost their horses, so now it's even harder for them to go visit her. So like that's like kind of the thing. It's like, oh, we need to wait for like the frost because she lives a hike and a half.
But because our blacksmithing apprentice, when he like leaves for home, he's like, "I'll be back after winter."
Yeah, like it's a thing. Is like it's a hike.
Which I think is another great point of this film, is like, something that's discussed a lot, or I think the only time at least us as Americans think about it is like when we think about George Washington
Mhm.
wintering at Valley Forge. It's
Yeah.
like it's a hard winter, so the army has to camp out and wait till the weather's good to, take it to the British again.
Mhm.
But like that is that was a common practice for
Yeah.
every military for hundreds of years previous, because
Yeah.
legitimately it was
It's
okay,
hard.
winter's here, fighting in the snow sucks, so we're just going to hunker down and wait till it's summer again. So
Yeah,
like
it's cold, it's muddy, like it's not easy, and like you said, like with George Washington at Valley Forge, like how many of his troops did he lose because they like couldn't stay warm, like they just didn't have the resources. It's so hard to get resources through the snow, and that makes being like camping out even harder. So it is just one of those things where it's like you just got to hunker down
it's
sometimes.
it's one of those
Um
like watching this film, at least for our listeners at home, if you like watch this film and listen to this review, something I would something we do pretty frequently around here is we have to justify what makes
yeah.
a war film.
Okay.
Because if you were to just watch this film, you're like, there's no fucking war going on.
It's literally bookended. Like you hear about the great stuff at the beginning and at the end, and you never see anything in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really what this film is this is Robert the Bruce,
hmm
his experience, essentially doing a winter encampment between campaigns.
Yeah.
Like the
I w-
war still is going on.
Yeah.
It's just
Absolutely.
this is a lull in that
yeah.
conflict.
And it's just treated as the axe hanging over everybody's head, the whole war between Scotland and England.
Yeah. Which is actively happening at this point. Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
not it's not like, oh no, will they, won't they? Like it's a thing. It's very
Like
much a thing.
I really want to know this woman's opinion of Robert the Bruce after all this goes down. When you look at it, she lost her husband and her beloved son
Uh-huh.
just to put this guy on the throne.
Uh-huh. And then
I,
her
I
other
don't know about you,
But
but
son.
she,
I'd be
but she
pretty
says it in
fucking
the movie. She's like, I need to know that they died for something.
yeah. I'd be pretty fucking
Yeah.
upset.
Yeah. And I mean it
Jack is very good at empathizing with the mother's rage.
I I have quite the sense of empathy towards women because of my major. You see,
not because
I
they're people.
No,
no,
he tells me
nah.
to go fuck myself every day.
But yeah, I was in a major that was
Mhm.
predominantly women.
Mhm.
Like I was literally the only man in over half my classes. So I like to think I'm a bit more. Ever since then, I'm a bit more empathetic towards women, as lame as that sounds.
Well, we appreciate your service.
I know. Praise me for having basic
Uh,
human empathy.
um, yeah, yeah, it's that Morag's story is what
Also,
story there is, but
super clever. Like, I don't know if she's an actual person or not, but William Wallace's girlfriend or wife in the original is Morin, and
yes,
now our main female character in this film is Morag, and it's like, come on.
you didn't even try at all. Yeah, um,
All right, so I just gotta ask.
uh,
I was gonna ask this earlier, but we got sidetracked with the whole Scotland thing. Also, come the
yeah.
fuck on. But
Yeah, it's like that's a thing. It's like she names this kid Scott and like expects him to not just like be a raging
You know,
Scotsman.
I
so
want I want to name my daughter Mary the American.
Yeah, honestly, it's just like it's just I yeah. It's like you really you yep. What did you expect?
speaking of
Yeah.
speaking of the naming thing, so me and my wife are actively trying to procreate, make a little
Mhm.
history nerd John, if you
A
will.
little Johnny.
Love it.
We will not be naming him that or her.
Oh, come on.
Obviously, you're going with Brandu.
I was about to say that. I was like, because that's the thing is like, as soon as you tell somebody that like, oh, we're trying for kids, they take that as license to be like, oh, you should name them this, and it's like, shut the fuck up.
It's like, no.
You should name
so
him
much
Johnny.
so, my grandmother,
Oh no.
God rest her soul, she is 85 years old.
You can't say God rest her soul and she's still alive.
Yeah, Johnny, what the hell? John. Oh,
I think
sorry,
I was
John
trying to go for the
Senior.
southern like bless her heart thing.
Got it. Yeah.
She's still alive. Let's clarify that. Preemptive, God bless her soul, because
okay, yeah,
anyways,
got there. She's 85.
So she really got into genealogy the last couple of years. And it's something that like I've helped her with because genealogy is also something that really got me into history.
Yeah.
And she somehow came across this book that was printed in the like 1940s. And apparently this was a thing, which was like families would go to like professional genealogists. They do research and then they would make you a book of your family history and then hand it to you. And this book was apparently lost to time until somehow my grandmother magically procured it this past year, which I was like, oh, cool.
Incredible.
And so she read the whole book and then she's like, okay, I'm going to give it to you because you're the only one in the family that cares about family history. And she wrote this like little note in it. And she's like, whenever I have great grandkids, I expect you to choose one of these names. And like, she wrote a list of names that are apparently family names from this history book.
That's incredible.
And I didn't have the heart to tell her. I'm like, that's not happening. Like,
these names all suck, Grandma.
Yeah, I'm not naming our kid Jedediah. Sorry. Like,
oh no, come on. Jedediah is good.
Kicks ass.
Jedediah is good.
Speaking of Jedediah, that's the name of my therapist.
Okay, see, that's different. Like, that would be weird if you named your kid after your therapist.
Yeah, we might have to end our client-patient relationship if that occurred. But
incredible.
But this movie, I was like,
it's got names.
I went to my wife. I was like, I have the perfect name for our kid. She's like, what? Brandub. It's such a fucking Gen Z name.
Yeah, it's a similar root to Brandon. It's just the difference between like Irish Gaelic and Scottish Gaelic. So it's like Brandov. So it's D-U-B-H. It's a V sound at the end. It just means like dark hair.
Oh.
Very creative.
It works. I mean, provided they have the same hair color as me. But
yeah, it just means it's really just as like he's got black hair.
But
Brandov.
Anyway, as I was gonna say earlier, but again we got fucking sidetracked. I gotta ask the elephant in the room. Here it goes. How historically accurate is this movie?
0.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I thought you were going to ask something way worse.
No.
This is largely conjecture.
Well, I mean, isn't most of Robert the Bruce's story an oral tradition anyways, minus the like 1 or 2 poems?
We do have sources that are written down. Like we have sources of Robert the Bruce. Like we know when he entered court as an official knight and not just as like a page or squire. We have a record of him. Like we know his birthday. We know sort of where his haunts were.
We know like where his intestines are.
We know where his intestines are. They're not in the same place as his heart or his body.
Please tell me you visited them when you were.
I did not get the chance, and which is a bummer. It's just a bummer. I did visit Bannockburn multiple times, Stirling multiple times. I visited sites more than I was able to visit parts. did see like some like actual artifacts of his, just because they exist in a couple of places in Glasgow as well. So they have uh, a mold of his skull at the Covent Grove Museum in Glasgow, which is very, very cool to see. He's also one of those faces where like every couple of years they come out with a new like 3D
This is what he
reconstruction
looked
of
like.
it. Yeah.
The clickbait thing.
Yeah, and he always looks real fucked up, which is fair. Um, you're like, ah,
Appreciate the
damn.
honesty.
Like
You could
he
have just
always.
said he doesn't look handsome. He didn't have to like.
No,
Oh
go
no,
he
for
he's
looks.
it.
fucked up.
He's fucked up because like we also like we have track of his injuries and like we know he's like was hit in the face at least once, and so like they always like work in this like like his nose is off, like um and like he probably had syphilis or well
Oh,
something
but who
akin to syphilis,
doesn't?
right, like something akin to syphilis, or they're like, oh, it was probably leprosy, and it's like leprosy was actually not as common as people think it was. It's a thing.
Well, according to
um
Braveheart, wasn't his dad a leper?
yeah, and and that was probably not true.
Hey,
But he probably
hey,
had some other wasting disease.
hey, John.
Hmm.
What did the lepers say to the prostitute?
No.
Oh God,
Oh
what?
boy.
Keep the tip.
Oh.
Thank you. Wow, what a great audience.
I deserve that,
Oh
especially after the
no.
text message I sent you last week.
Oh no.
So Veronica, I sent because we give each other shit all the time.
Of
I
course.
sent him a text one day. I was like, "Hey Jack, have you ever heard of the Greek hero Bophades?"
It's a good
I
one.
had heard that one though.
Yeah, he kind of ruined it.
Yeah, I know, but here I played it off and I gave you a fucking chance. So let me just. All right. Blah blah blah. You giving me shit for hunting? Watch the moon. God damn it! Where is it? All right. He texted me, "Have you ever heard of the Greek hero Bophades?" And then I responded with, "Yes, actually. One of our tour guides in Greece told us all about him. Wasn't he the twin brother of Testicles?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "He's very similar to Achilles, but his weak spot is the groin." And then I said, "His father is gluteus." And he didn't respond to that, so I felt kind of bad for ruining the joke. But so then I texted him, "Okay, fine, I'll bite. Who's Bophades?" And then he said, "You kind of already took the fun out of it." And then I was like, "Just do it. We both know you want to." And then he said in all caps, "Bophades nuts."
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt
That's a good one.
that I just like that I felt bad about it, and then I gave him another
You
chance.
just sometimes you have to throw a bone,
Yeah,
and
I do,
for the sake of friendship.
because I'm
It's
such a
fine.
good fucking friend.
I was able to catch a coworker with it, so
It's
that
it's
But
a good one.
there, I remember I was at a house party a couple of years ago, and I sat down on the end of the couch, and I sat down wrong and hurt my ass. So I stood up and said, "Ow." And then one of my friends looked at me and she said, Was Testicles slain? And then without even missing a beat, I said, "No, but Gluteus has fallen in battle."
Yeah.
Oh my god. I
Oh man,
still think about that.
that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I appreciate that that is a joke that made it into Assassin's Creed.
Wait,
actually,
really?
which
Yeah.
one?
The Odyssey, the one that takes place in
Oh,
Greece, they
I had
make a joke about the hero Bophades, and he
God damn it.
it's great. And it sort of goes where you expect, and his brother, who I think is it's not Testicles. They went with something that was something different. I can't remember what it is. But it was like they were like it's
I I
you can
used to
play
be
it in a
such
video
a
game.
huge Assassin's Creed fan, and when Origins came out, they like
Mhm.
changed up the controller setup for like
Mhm.
what the different button commands
Yeah.
did.
Mhm.
And I was like, I have like 15 years plus of
Yeah.
experience of one particular control layout, and you switching it, like I stopped
Ruins
playing.
everything.
So like I tried playing Origins, I tried playing Odyssey, and I didn't really get back into it until Valhalla came out.
Yeah.
But I played a lot of Valhalla, but I haven't done the most recent one, Mirage or whatever it was, and
Yeah.
I don't plan on doing the like Shogun one that's going to come out.
See,
Yeah.
I've been playing a bit of Origins because I'm going to Egypt next year, and Egypt is like the one is pretty cool, but there's a mission where you have to assassinate a guy in a bathhouse, and everybody's wearing loincloths, and I was pissed off because I wanted to see a bunch of dick hanging around everywhere because they would be naked as a jaybird in real life, just chilling.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see more penis.
You should. I mean, you could always just go back to what was the Conan the Barbarian. There was a Conan the Barbarian like online multiplayer game.
Oh yeah, that one
and
that had...
like you could change and everyone's just running around with giant dicks. Like,
it's not the
excellent gameplay.
same.
It's not
I
the
wanted
same.
historical accuracy.
I demand my penises to be historically accurate.
You're damn right.
In that case, the next time, if I'm welcome again, we need to watch Outlaw King because that features Chris Pine's historically accurate penis. Except
Woo!
not really.
Wait, who's does Outlaw King have Timothy Chalamet in it?
No, so that one is the king.
Oh, okay.
So that's where he plays Henry V.
Okay.
And
is Outlaw King the...
So Outlaw King is essentially the same story as Robert the Bruce, but better.
Wait, you're telling me there's a better version of this story and you still made us watch the shitty one?
No, I have the texts, John.
Okay.
I offered Outlaw
proof.
King,
She has
and you
proof.
said, I said, I prefer Outlaw King, and you went, let's do the sequel to Braveheart instead. So,
well,
ha!
I mean, we already did Braveheart, so we might as well do the pseudo sequel. Yeah, I
you
get
complete
it.
the set, and then, but Outlaw King is absolutely one of my favorite all-time films, one of my top 10 favorite movies.
There you go.
And the history is decent. It's beautifully shot. It's incredibly well acted. Chris Pine's dick is there. Florence Pugh's boobs are there.
Why the fuck aren't we reviewing it right now?
Right. It's fantastic.
Jack has a little crushy crush on Florence Pugh.
Who doesn't?
Didn't you
perfect.
get correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you get to see her ass in Oppenheimer?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I think you get to see most of her in Oppenheimer.
I was a big fan of her in Black Widow, so
she's perfect and I love her. And as a bisexual woman, she's perfect. And getting
as a married man, my wife is the only one for me.
That's fair.
I think Florence Pugh is a solid 5 out of 10.
But yeah, Outlaw King also has a dog that doesn't die. It's great. It's really good.
Well, that's the trifecta.
It's truly
Speaking of dogs that don't die, have you seen the movie Sisu?
No. Oh
no. What was it? Norway or Sweden?
Finland.
One of those Scandinavian places.
It was definitely Finland.
The angry ones.
It's a
the angry ones.
It's a Finnish. Oh yeah, because the main character fought in the Winter War. Anyways.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So Sisu is about this like ex-Finnish special forces dude who becomes a gold miner, and like it's near the end of World War II, and the Nazis are like, "Hey, this gold miner has gold," and then shenanigans ensues. But he has a dog. But the thing was, he has a dog companion, and they went out of their way in the commercials for this film at the very beginning. They're like, "Hey, the dog doesn't die in this film. Please come see it."
That's so important. That's so important.
but it's essentially John Wick's Finnish grandfather.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's in the
Except the dog doesn't
genre.
die.
It's in the genre of one particular person kicks inordinate amounts of ass throughout the movie.
And it kicks an inordinate amount of Nazi ass, which is like always
There you go.
appreciated.
Yeah,
It's always what we want to see.
love to see it. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
so Jack,
what are we all drinking tonight?
There we go.
Oh yeah, I in keeping with the Scottish theme, and also the fact that this film takes place in the winter and it's cold where I am as well, I've gone with a hot toddy.
Oh, nice.
So
See,
you know,
I'm going with a traditional Scottish drink, Mike's Hard Lemonade, Blueberry Lime.
Yes, because Scotland is known for its abundance of limes.
And blueberries.
I
And Mike's Hard.
whew,
All right,
yeah.
let's hear your Scottish drink then, smartass.
I didn't go for something Scottish, but I did go something wintry themed. I found out about this brewery that's a little north of me. It's in Fort Collins, Colorado. And it's called Grimm Brothers Brewing, which is supposed to be like a play on words for like Grimm Brother Tales. So all of their drinks have these like awesome little like kind of like 1700s, 1800s.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like artistic styles on classic fables, if you will.
Yeah, the Brothers Grimm's tales. Yeah.
So the one I'm drinking tonight is called Snowdrop, and it's a honey wheat ale.
That sounds so nice.
And they have a nice little picture of Snow White and a dwarf on it. So I have another one. It's a golden ale, and they call it Golden Goose.
Oh, that sounds nice. I love that.
So yeah, but I was like, this entire movie is snowy, and like, so the setting.
They're telling fables.
Yeah, so like the setting of me watching this movie, me and my wife, we decorated for Christmas yesterday. So like our whole like living room is like, it's very wintry, and I live in Colorado, so obviously there's fucking snow on the ground everywhere. I fucking hate snow.
Bad news, bud.
Yeah,
You live in Colorado.
I know. Moved to a fucking place with a lot of it. Not as much as South Dakota, though, oddly enough. But, so yeah, it's snowy out. The house is done up for Christmas, and this entire film takes place during the winter. And I'm like, that's why I was kind of getting the impression. I'm like, this is a Christmas movie.
Love
and
it.
my wife was like, no, the fuck it's not. Like,
they don't even bring up Christmas at any point. No one goes to church.
Well, they burnt
Somebody
the one
gets
down.
killed in church, but
it's hard to go to church when you burn the only one in a 50-mile radius down. So
it's fine.
They'll make another one. God wills it.
So, anyways, I was like, oh, Snowdrop ale.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. We love a local brew too.
So, what do you say we rate this movie?
I think that is a great idea. I am open to
I have to
suggestions.
piss like a Russian racehorse.
Oh, jeez.
Why don't you go to the bathroom?
No, we got to put a bow on this before I do.
Okay.
So, what do you propose for a rating system?
I think 1 to 5 Scottish Charlotte's Webs.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that. I thought you were going to say burn down churches.
No.
Okay.
Because our Angus McFadden spends an inordinate amount of time watching this stupid fucking spider making a web.
It's an important story. It's to Scottish fables and legends. It's so important. It's his whole motivation.
Well, when you're wounded in a cave, what would you do? Right? Like,
I don't know, probably die.
I was going to say just die.
Well, I mean, other than dying, like, this is your Netflix, watching this one spider. But
I change the fucking channel.
Oh, I love this season. Let's see if he makes it.
He might get a flop. Whatever. But
Yeah.
god damn it. So what? How many Charlotte's Webs do you give this, Johnny?
Oh, me.
Yes, you.
Uh, I thought it was an interesting film. I'm not sure I would watch it again.
Mhm.
I didn't dislike it, but I just don't have a reason to go back to it.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't think the cinematography was that bad. I mean, there's definitely some good shots in it. I do like Angus McFadden. The writing in this seemed a bit sloppy, so I give it two Charlotte's Webs.
That's fair.
And you,
Yeah.
Veronica? Or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Dr. Veronica?
No.
No.
Like yes, but no. I give it 3 out of 5 Scottish Charlotte Webbs just because I really like Angus McFadden.
Fair enough.
And yeah, I really like Angus McFadden. And I really, uh, yeah, I like Robert the Bruce. So like, it gets a 3 out of 5 Scottish Charlotte's Webs for me.
Also, I was going to mention this earlier. I wasn't expecting to see Debbie from Shameless in this as the
Oh yeah,
blacksmith's daughter /
Mhm.
Carney's girlfriend.
Yeah,
And then she fucking dies.
yeah,
As one does
yeah,
in 1300 Scotland.
yeah.
I think I,
Um, yeah,
I think I'll give this one either 2 or 2.5
yeah.
Scottish Charlotte Webs.
It's trying to get to 3. If
It's
it
trying
makes
to
it
get
to
to
3,
3.
then Robert the Bruce will go back to the Scottish Wars of
Maybe
Independence.
it's like two Charlotte's Webs, but the third one doesn't have a spider.
The third one's really fucked up. Like, they really phoned it in.
It's one of those
But,
meth spiders from like
oh
the
yeah.
Yeah,
studies they
that
used to do.
spider. All right.
Anyway, let's see what Rotten Tomatoes says.
Oh, it's so
So,
good.
this movie has a 43% on the tomometer and a 60% on the audience rating.
All right.
I
I
think
think that's, yeah.
50%. Yeah, 50% I'd say is a good rating, but see what you guys say.
I think that like it's higher than what I give it, but I'm not too terribly upset about a 50 net
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it
median,
just
if you
hit at the
will.
wrong time. I think if it was a couple years earlier, it would have been fine. But
I
I think it
think
just hit the wrong time.
here's what I'll say to our listeners at home. If you're going to watch this film, I think you should watch it in the November-December timeframe.
It gets a little magical.
Yeah, it does.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think you should pop this on after It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh yeah, there's sequels, don't you know? It's the same franchise.
Yeah, same thing.
Oh
Um,
no.
I think I don't know. I think I would feel really weird if I watched this in like June. The same way that like if I watched a movie about the Battle of the Bulge in July,
Mm,
I don't think it would hit me the same way.
it's fair.
So that's just my humble recommendation. I'm not your dad. Do what you want. So
That's totally fair. You want that environmental immersive storytelling, and I think that's a valuable
I
recommendation.
I believe in the 4D movie experience.
Put on your wool socks and go stand outside.
There you go.
Love
All
it.
right. Well, Veronica, it's been great having you on. If you would like
Mhm.
to share social medias or any kind of projects you got going on that you want the people to know about, have at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the best place to sort of keep up with me is my Instagram, which is VAlt_pro. That is where I'm sort of keeping up to date on books and research that I'm doing, and sort of continuing projects. It was fun to dive back into my particular research interest with this film, and get all those good juicy details again. So thanks for that, and hopefully I get to do a little bit more of that going forward as well.
Well, it sounds like we already have our next film picked out with you. So
Absolutely. Oh, Outlaw King, like I said, one of my favorite films. It has a longer runtime. It's beautiful. It's got a great cast. The history is decent. It's more historically accurate than Braveheart and Robert the Bruce, while telling similar stories. So, all that to say, still watch Robert the Bruce, if nothing else, just to see Angus McFadden be Angus McFadden.
right. For our listeners at home, God, we planned on having this out on St. Andrew's Day, right?
November 30th. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
that is St. Andrew's
So
Day. So big day for just being proud of being Scottish. So
good. So I was doing my internal brain scheduling. I was
Yeah.
like, what do we have coming out after this? So for our listeners at home, our next film that will be coming out after this, technically speaking, because it'll be outside of our normal release schedule, this will be a bonus reel. So that's fancy. We will be doing The Great Escape, starring Steve McQueen.
Oh, that one's so good. Oh, that's a really, really good one.
And we will be joined by our friend Ken from the History X, who, for our
Awesome.
listeners at home, if you recall, was the reason we had a 3-hour episode about the movie U571. So,
Ooh, buckle in.
so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I told him we have a strict 2-hour cap that we have to abide by this time. But Jack, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Alrighty. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, please go check out Veronica and give her a follow. Please leave a review. The stars do count. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, unfortunately, YouTube, all those good places. Until next time, I've been John.
And I'm Jack.
And Veronica, thank you so much again for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thank
It was my pleasure.
And I'll have you hang out for a minute, Veronica.
No problem.
Say it, Jack.
Fine. Bye.